Long ago, in the land of Canaan, there lived a man named Jacob, the son of Isaac, and the grandson of Abraham, the man to whom God had made his great promises. Jacob had 2 wives. The first was Leah, who bore him many sons, and the second was Rachel, the woman Jacob loved with all his heart. But Rachel had no children, and her heart was heavy with longing. Day after day she watched Leah with her sons, and her soul ached for the gift of a child. One night, Rachel knelt quietly, her hands lifted in prayer.
Please remember me and grant me a son.
And the Lord heard her prayer. In time, Rachel gave birth to a son, and she named him Joseph, saying, "May the Lord add to me another son." Joseph was the 11th son of Jacob, and the firstborn of Rachel, the wife Jacob loved most. Because of this, Jacob loved Joseph more than his other sons, and he showed it openly. He gave Joseph a beautiful, richly decorated robe, and this made his brothers deeply jealous. Joseph was about 17 years old when he began to have dreams that suggested greatness. In one dream, Joseph and his brothers were binding sheaves of grain in a field. Suddenly, Joseph's sheaf stood upright, while his brothers' sheaves bowed down. In another dream, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed before him. Joseph shared these dreams with his family.
Bowing down to me.
His brothers hated him even more, believing he was claiming authority over them. Even Jacob was troubled, though he quietly wondered what the dreams might mean. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers, who were grazing their flocks near Dothan. When they saw Joseph approaching from afar, they plotted to kill him. Reuben, the oldest brother, intervened. He convinced them not to kill Joseph, but to throw him into an empty cistern instead, planning to rescue him later. While Reuben was away, a caravan of Ishmaelite traders passed by on their way to Egypt. Judah suggested selling Joseph instead of killing him, so the brothers sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver. They dipped Joseph's robe in goat's blood and showed it to their father. Jacob believed Joseph had been killed by a wild animal. He was devastated and mourned for many years. Meanwhile, Joseph was taken to Egypt. In Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guard. Though Joseph was far from home, the Lord was with him. Everything Joseph did prospered, and Potiphar placed him in charge of his entire household. Joseph grew into a capable and trustworthy young man, but Potiphar's wife tried to persuade Joseph to do wrong. Joseph refused, explaining that it would betray his master and be a sin against God. Angered by his refusal, she falsely accused him. Potiphar believed her, and Joseph was thrown into prison, though he had done nothing wrong. Even in prison, God remained with Joseph. The prison warden noticed Joseph's integrity and put him in charge of the other prisoners. 2 of Pharaoh's officials, the cupbearer and the baker, were imprisoned there. Each had troubling dreams. Joseph interpreted them. The cupbearer would be restored. The baker would be executed. Both interpretations came true. Joseph asked the cupbearer to remember him, but the cupbearer forgot Joseph for 2 long years. One night, Pharaoh had two disturbing dreams. 7 healthy cows were devoured by 7 thin cows. 7 full heads of grain were swallowed by 7 thin ones. None of Egypt's wise men could explain them. Then, the cupbearer remembered Joseph. Joseph was brought from prison, cleaned up, and stood before Pharaoh. Joseph explained that the dreams were from God. 7 years of abundance were coming. Then, 7 years of severe famine. Joseph advised Pharaoh to store food during the years of plenty. Pharaoh recognized God's wisdom in Joseph and appointed him second in command over all Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old. Joseph prepared Egypt for the famine, storing grain throughout the land. When famine spread, people from many nations came to Egypt to buy food. Joseph married Asenath. They had 2 sons. Manasseh, God has made me forget my troubles. Ephraim, God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering. When famine reached Canaan, Jacob sent Joseph's brothers to Egypt. They bowed before Joseph, fulfilling his childhood dreams, but they did not recognize him. Joseph tested them to see if they had changed. When Benjamin was accused, Judah offered himself instead, and Joseph saw true repentance. Overcome with emotion, Joseph revealed his identity. I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. His brothers were terrified, but Joseph reassured them, do not be distressed. God sent me ahead of you to preserve life. Joseph forgave them completely. Joseph brought his father Jacob and the entire family, 70 people in all, to live in Egypt. Pharaoh welcomed them and settled them in Goshen. Before Jacob died, he blessed his sons and Joseph's children. Joseph's final years after Jacob's death, Joseph's brothers feared revenge, but Joseph said, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. Joseph lived to be 110 years old. Before his death, he asked that his bones be carried back to Canaan when God delivered his people. God's plan. Key biblical themes in Joseph's story: God's sovereignty even in suffering, faithfulness in temptation, forgiveness and reconciliation, God's promises fulfilled over time,